Hello. Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can see and hear me. I'm using a new webcam today, so lots of new stuff. I'm using OBS to stream. I'm using a new webcam, lots of new equipment. I've got a new monitor here. Everything's new and great. Today is going to be a little bit different. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been doing a lot of like working on Linux printing. If you've been watching the previous streams, I was like deep within the printing engine of Gecko, and that's not really what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be doing a lot of code review today because my review queue is humongous. I've got a lot of code to review, and I figured it might be interesting for you to see what that's like. So let me just cut right to the chase, and here's my screen. So here's today's agenda. If you scroll to the bottom of the video page that you're on, assuming you're not viewing it embedded on some other page, but if you're actually viewing it on the AirMozilla at the AirMozilla URL, at the very bottom of the page there's a URL that links to this document. You don't need to go there. I'm kind of just going to describe what's going on. So the first thing, I always start with this, just a reminder that while I kind of have a plan here, no plan survives breakfast. Who knows what'll go wrong? Perhaps I'll get an IRC message. Something I wrote last week is totally busted. I need to get to it ASAP. So this whole plan might just go by the wayside. We just kind of have to deal with it as we go. So just a reminder there. First thing I'm going to let you know is that the Linux printing stuff that we've been doing the last couple of weeks landed. So if you're interested in using Nightly with E10S and you are on Linux and you want to print things, now you can do that with the latest builds, and it's using the code that we've been writing for the past couple of weeks. So that's pretty exciting. So let's talk about code review. So I have a ton of bugs to review, patches from a number of people, and I did a little bit of code review last week. This week it's mostly going to be code review, and stuff's going to get by me. I'm not a perfect code reviewer. I don't even know who a perfect code reviewer would be. I'm pretty sure stuff gets by everybody, but I just want to flat out say that like it's not like this is some exercise where I know what all of the defects are in these patches and I'm going to pretend to find them. These are real patches. I don't know if there are any problems with them. I'm going to show you exactly what I do whenever I'm reviewing real patches from real people for real code. Also, code review is not a silver bullet, but it's better than nothing. It's better than no bullets. So stuff might get by me. There might be defects in the code that I miss, and that's life, and we have to learn to move on. So the goal, just so we're all aware, is to make the software strictly better. Learning side effects are nice. If I learn something about what's going on in the code, if the reviewee learns something about what's going on in the code, that's also nice. But remember that the goal is to make the software better, and that's what we're going to aim to do. So these are the things I don't want to belabor the point or like go talk about like my methodology. I want to actually do it, but I want to talk about it quickly, some things that I'll be doing as I review the code, and then we'll go and actually review it. So the first thing I do is I make sure that the code does what it says it will do, and I'm going to like run it, like I'll actually apply the patches. I'll try and make sure that it fixes what it says it will fix. We're going to inspect it and test it, sort of one and then the other. I like to think about the stuff I can't see in a code review. So a diff will show you adds, removals, and changes, but it won't show you stuff outside of the diff that might be impacted by the stuff that's changed. And so that's kind of like the dog that didn't bark and the Hound of the Baskervilles story from Sherlock Holmes, is you kind of have to think about like what are the things that are impacted that are not included in this diff that I kind of have to think about. So I like to think about that. Is the code using any old stuff for which there are better alternatives? And is there a simpler way? Like, I like to go with the simplest solution is usually the best, is in my opinion. Sometimes more complicated solutions are necessary, but usually if that's the case, then you want to document, you want to include inline documentation to explain why things need to be complicated. And last but not least, know your limits. My effectiveness as a reviewer decreases the more I review over time. That's been shown. There's a study that shows that. So if by the end of, like, this is probably all the code review I'm going to do today, and then I'll go back to writing some code, because once I go past like an hour and a half of of reviewing, my ability to find defects drops dramatically. I don't think we'll get time to work on a bug today, but who knows? Maybe all of these will be super, super easy and we'll get into writing code again, but we'll see. So here's the rogues gallery, the bugs that I'm going to that have patches that I'm going to review. Let's take a look at this first one. I think I already have it open in my browser. That's 114.0898, right? Yeah. Okay. So a lot of these are from this contributor named Ian Moody, who is doing a great job cleaning up some code that's using unsafe kapows. Now, if you're not sure what I mean by that, you might want to go to my blog where I talk about unsafe kapows. I also talked a little bit about it last week when I reviewed another patch from this fellow. But basically, we're making it so that the parent process doesn't use synchronous messages to talk to content that's running in a different process, because that's bad for performance and it's potentially bad for security. I'm not entirely sure I understand the security implications, but the it's way better for performance if we use messages instead, asynchronous message passing from the parent to the child, and I believe that's what Ian Moody is doing with this patch. So let's see if we can understand what the problem is that Ian is trying to solve. Then we'll see if he's solved it, and then we will we'll make a judgment on the patch. And remember, it's a judgment on the patch, not a judgment on the writer. I mean, what is it they say in basketball? Like hate the game, not the player, or something. So critique the code. Don't critique the coder. So it looks like. So what even is this switch page direction? I'm not even familiar with that that item. It's talking about view switch page direction. I don't know where that would be. So the first thing I want to do is make sure I can reproduce the problem so that I can test to see whether or not this actually solves it. Let's see here. So let's switch page direction. I'm going to find out, maybe this is only available in certain builds, maybe like builds in certain locales where it's necessary to change the page direction, but let's find out. So I'm going to use DXR to search for this string, see if I can find where bidirectional. So okay, this is the key for the string, and I will search for who uses that. That's in two places, one in a context menu and one in the menu bar here. Because I'm using the menu bar to trigger it, let's take a look at the menu bar one. And so the ID for this element, so it's hidden by default. Okay, that makes sense. So I'm not crazy. It's in here, it's just hidden. So I have to find out what is the thing that makes it show so that I can get it to show. So let's find out what makes it show. This looks like the code that is getting rid of that hidden equals true. Is BIDI enabled is what does the job, and that's done on browser startup. We're in, where are we? We're in delayed startup. And what informs is BIDI enabled? Is BIDI enabled? Where does that even come from? So we'll search for this function. It's in the utility overlay. Looks like there is a pref that sets it. So I can, like, it does look like it looks through to see what locale a user is in. And returns true if the user is in a locale that starts with one of these prefixes. Yeah, substrings. Okay, so I can override all this. We search for this BIDI browser UI thing, and if that's true, we would just return true early. So I can use that instead of having to like fool the browser into thinking I'm in a different locale. Excuse me. So I have a build of Firefox here that I will run with E10S, and I'm going to flip this pref, BIDI browser UI. I will flip. Oh, if you heard some clicks just now, I have this add-on installed that clicks kind of like a Geiger counter every time we use an unsafe kapow. So actually, with Moz Ian's patch, it's possible we'll hear fewer clicks. That's great. So I will set that to true, and then I will restart the browser. Okay, so now, yeah, I've got the switch page direction menu item available. Great. So he says that it doesn't work. What's a great place to go to test this? How about I go to watchpeoplecode.com, and if I switch page direction, nothing happens, and that's probably what he's talking about. Yeah, this is the bug. This is the bug. So this isn't actually an unsafe kapow usage. This is just flat out busted code. So that's good. And I'm being talked to. Jim says I should post my kapow's clicks patch someplace. If you're interested in like hearing clicks every time you are using an unsafe kapow, I've actually posted the add-on inside a bug. This is bug 1109713. I will pass that off to Jim. And yeah, there's an add-on in here that you can install to do it. And the source code, there's a link to the source code in here if you want to mess around with it. Anyways, so his bug is more about actually fixing switching page direction than just not using unsafe kapows. So let's take an actual look at the patch now. So I'll click on review, and we will see what he does. So this is the command that fires whenever you click on the menu item, and we're switching it from switch document direction. So he's actually removing that function down here, and instead he is sending an async message down to the selected browser. And he's saying switch the document direction. And interesting. Like we must already have some kind of message handler somewhere in the code that handles that. Let's find it. I don't see it. So who's going to respond to that? That doesn't sound right. I don't think that's going to work. Maybe there's code that this attachment relies on that is not supplied. Or, I think it depends on this other patch. He probably said that in the bug, and I should have read the bug. Relies on, of course, I should have just read the bug. It relies on this stuff. Okay, so let's see what this does. So this just moves the function. This is kind of split up between two different patches, this work. But he's moved the function from browser.js into content.js, so this will run in the content process with multi-process Firefox. And it looks right. Let me take a look at, whoops, that's not the right. I need to go back and see that I need to see the original patch we were looking at, and we're going to compare these side by side. So he's removed this old stuff in this patch, and he's added new stuff in here. So in a way, it's possible that I'm the one who told him to split this up. I hope not. I hope I didn't lead him down the garden path. It would have been nice to have this be a single patch. That's probably my fault. Let's not worry about it. But we are moving this from here over to here, and let's make sure it does what it says it's supposed to do. So I'm going to quickly do this sort of back and forth comparison. I can actually just probably tear this out and compare them side by side. Oh, come on. Oh, nope, don't want that. Don't want that. I want this one. Yeah. Let's compare them side by side. Oh, that's a tragedy. Come on. Oh, Splinter. Okay, well this will have to do. So, um, what are we doing here? We look to see what the window document direction is. If it's left to right or it's nothing, then we set the document direction to right to left. And that's the same thing that we were doing here before. Yeah, this looks the same. And if the window document was right to left, we set it to left to right. And then we do the same thing for all the window frames. Yeah, and he switched var to let. That's always a good idea. Var, it's the worst. Use let. That looks right to me. So my one critique is that, well, no, I don't know if I have a critique. This is normally we try and kind of like namespace. We have this pseudo namespacing for these messages. Like we say if something has to do with the context menu, then we do like context menu colon canvas colon to data URL. Um, this isn't. This is at the top. So I'm wondering if maybe this belongs inside one of our pseudo namespaces. Um, let me see if I can find an appropriate one. So gonna hold off on the review for just a second. We're gonna see if I can find um, a better place for, or a better name for this message. What am I doing? I'm gonna drag this back in here and great. Okay, so let's look inside content.js because that's where the message handlers will be. And I'll use path so that it takes me right to the file. And so is there like an appropriate, some of these are event listeners, so there's not much we can do about that. These are namespace, second screen, mixed content. So is there a better namespace? Let me add message listener. We'll search with that. Reader. So this one just, that's at the top. Web channel message to content. So maybe it's not so bad. Content search, finder, initialize, page style, DOM full screen, WebRTC. Whoops, I think I blasted past one. Browser, app tab, page metadata, context menu, browser, hide session restore button, browser, reload, browser, SSL error report status. The only one I can think of is browser colon. Like, and is there an advantage? Does that actually make the code better? Is the question. Is it worth asking for that change? Switch document direction. I don't want to hum and haw about it too much. I'll get back to you later. You know, actually, I should probably change my nick so that people know I'm live hacking. And I'll get to you later, guys. Let's see here. So yeah, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to ask him to, because it's not a big change. In fact, maybe I can just do it for him. Like that's usually the easiest, instead of like bouncing back my critique, this one liner or a nit fix or something saying like, hey, fix this one thing, I can just do it myself and land the patches for him, along with giving him an R+. So I might do that. Content.window is right here. See, I'm kind of reviewing two patches at the same time, these two split up patches. If you've, this one and this one, because they're pretty much the same thing. They're just, one relies on the other. So how about the places that I'm not seeing? I need, because he removed this function, switch document direction, I have to make sure that there aren't any other things that rely on this function. So let's take a quick look, make sure that there's nothing else that calls it, tests or anything. So there's menu bar, browser menu bar. Wasn't there one, like what was it that we were looking at? Browser dash context menu. And I guess that's here. Switch page direction. Okay, so he's taking care of that. Context menu and menu bar are both taken care of. So this looks good. I'm actually pretty happy with this. So, and the tree is open, so I could just land these. So I'm gonna give this a thumbs up. This looks good to me. Enough humming and hawing. So I'm gonna just briefly comment. This is nice because I'm kind of like getting two for the price of one. I'm knocking out two reviews at the same time. Oh, before I R plus it, I need to test it. What am I doing? I need to test this stuff. So we already know that I should test one and then the other. So we'll see if we can get rid of these unsafe kapow usage warnings. Huh. It looks like I can only test it in this case by using the context menu. So that's okay, I can do that. So let's apply this patch. We'll shut down this instance. Import the patch. It did not apply cleanly. So let's find out why. Didn't put any rejections in there, so it's in this rejection file. So it just flat out didn't like the fact that he was adding these lines. Because I'll bet you something else was added in here in the meantime. To data URL. What? What? Browser-based content. That's exactly where this was supposed to go, wasn't it? He was adding stuff for context menu. Context menu, save video frame, menu, media command. Did I type it in wrong? Huh. Well, maybe. Oh, you know what? I'll bet this also relies on other stuff he's done. Like he's got this big chain of patches to fix up these context menu items. I'll bet you it's not applying cleanly because this stuff, context menu canvas to data URL, hasn't landed yet. That's okay. That's okay. It's not dependent on one another. So I will just save that. Let's build. What exactly did we change here? I'll commit. What was this? One bug 1140878. And what changed? Let's take a quick look. Make sure I got everything I needed to be applied. That looks right. Okay, so I just need to rebuild the stuff under browser base. So I will do that. Mock build browser base. And now I will run. Okay, so if I were to right click here and switch page direction, if I hear any clicks in my ear, I'm not sure if you can hear the clicks, but if I hear any clicks, that means that we're still using unsafe kapows, and that's bad. Hey, alright. I didn't hear any clicks, and I believe we're switching the page direction. I can tell from the total rejigging of the DOM that the relaying out of the DOM that it's probably working. Let me try a different page. Let's try reddit.com watch people code. And let's try here, switch page direction. Yeah, that's what we want. And I'm not hearing clicks. This is great news. Okay, so this to me is an R+. It fixes the problem because I'll bet, let me just double check. I'm going to unapply his patch, and then I'm going to make sure I can hear the clicks in the case that we use the context menu without his patch. So let's just make sure of that. A bunch of clicks. I heard a ton of clicks just now. So this is great. His patch definitely fixes that stuff. That's an R plus for me. So let's give him that. Um, let's call this message browser switch document direction. I like to keep things kind of pseudo namespaced. Pseudo namespaced. And what's my justification? Like, my gut says I want that. I'm not just doing that because I want to bring up a problem. Like, I'm actually, honestly, I think it's better if we have this namespace here. But I'm trying to come up with a justification, which is weird. Like, cart before horse. But I honestly do believe that it's better this way. I like to keep things kind of pseudo namespaced. I think we like to avoid top level or top or global namespace, pseudo namespace messages. I think it's more organized this way. So I'm going to give that an R plus. And of course, thank your coder, thank your contributor, because this dude took some time out of his day to make this fix. That's great. Thanks so much, Ian. So that's a publish. That's an R plus. Great. So that one's done. Down to 22 reviews. Oh man. Okay, so now there's this other thing, this original code that we were reviewing, that we need to make sure that the menu item works. And it relied on the code that I've just applied, so I will now apply this code. So I will make sure we apply that code that we just R+'d. And then I am going to import. If you're curious about how I'm able to do this, I have the BZ import extension for Mercurial, and that allows me to quickly apply patches like this from Bugzilla. Okay, so I've got, where am I? Am I on tip? Yes, I am. So I have the code. I haven't built with it yet, but we did see before that this was definitely broken. Like the view switch page direction was not working, and let's make sure that this fixes it. So we need to rebuild under browser base again. And we will run. Okay, so if I do this, switch page direction, I don't hear any clicks, and we definitely switch the page direction. This is great news. Great news. Okay, so that's a thumbs up from me. It's a bit weird to like break it up. Like, this is a big string in the HTML. That's kind of like with all the indentation and stuff here. Do we do stuff like that in browser menu bar? Let's make sure. I didn't use the right name. .inc. Browser menu bar .inc. Do we refer to? We don't refer to gbrowser here. We can assume that gbrowser is available because it's the browser menu bar under browser-based content, so it's not a toolkitty thing. Toolkit is like the general Zool and UI stuff that other apps that might not have a gbrowser rely on. For example, Thunderbird or Instant Bird or SeaMonkey. So I wonder if maybe instead of he makes direct reference to gbrowser instead of calling this function. that's probably okay. Like, I really don't see a problem with this, to be completely honest. The only reason I might want to change things is to use like the command pattern, but we weren't even using the command pattern before. We were using on command. So I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm going to say that this is probably okay. So I'm going to give this an R+. Now, another thing I want to think about is are there any tests that test for switching page direction that have not been working with E10S that might now all of a sudden start working? Because we're fixing switching page direction, document direction. I somehow don't think so. That sounds like it'd kind of be a hard thing to test, and I don't see it in there. Does anyone manually click on this, for example? No, I don't see it. So I don't think there are any actual tests for this, like automated tests for this. We more or less will rely on our nightly testers and multiple locales to make sure that this is working for them. But it's working for me, and I like it. So I'm going to give this a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up situation, but I'm going to say we'll want to use since we renamed in the other patch. This looks good to me. Thanks again, Ian. Boom, R+. Making stuff work. That's great. So that's 2 down. Not bad. And how are we doing on time? We're about half an hour in. Let's keep going. So what have I done? I've done this one. I will knock that off. Whoops. I meant to do that. And I got rid of one that I didn't expect to get rid of right away. 11400878. That was the next one, so we're ahead of the game. Next is 1066531. What even is this? Oh, this one. Okay, so my good friend George Wright is working on this, and this is complicated because let me kind of explain what's going on here. Whenever we have the content rendering in a different process, there are sometimes timing issues. For example, the content process might not be ready to paint when we need it to paint, and so we have to ask it like for an event or a message whenever it is ready to paint, and then the parent can make a decision. So, for example, when we switch tabs, we have to ask the content process, like, are you ready to show this stuff yet? Let us know when you are, and then we wait for that message, and then whenever it is ready, then we actually show the content. So what looks to be synchronous tab switching is actually asynchronous tab switching, and I can actually demonstrate that asynchronicity. You've probably seen it yourself if you've been watching this for a while, or you've been using Nightly, is if you have like a really heavy bunch of tabs. Let me load up a bunch of heavy stuff. And like a log file, it's probably like, is there a big log file I can use? I don't know, a DXR page, sure, whatever. Sure, this is nice and heavy. Now, if is that heavy enough? Might not be heavy enough, but if you've ever seen that big fat spinner in the middle, and everything just like you don't see the web content for a couple of seconds, that's because the content process hasn't told us that it's ready to paint yet, and so we're just kind of waiting for it. Normally, we only show the spinner after like a 300 millisecond timeout, waiting for that event, so that we show something instead of just showing the old web content. It's not a great experience, and we're working on making that better. But for now, that's what we've got. So what George is working on is making it so that what we're doing is we're switching the. You can't really see my hands. I'm drawing with my hands, but you can't really see it. Here in this area that I am circling with my mouse, like all this is the web content, and this is the stuff that we are switching asynchronously. So whenever I click up here, we switch the UI element from this tab to this tab synchronously on the mouse down event, but we change the stuff down here, the actual web content, asynchronously on that I'm ready to paint event. And what George is working on is making it so that we change the UI showing which tab is selected up here asynchronously as well. And the reason for that is in the tab spinner case, whenever we're actually going to show a spinner, it's weird because leading up to the spinner, like I said, there's that 300 millisecond window where we don't actually do anything. We're waiting for the event, and then after we hit the 300 milliseconds, then we show the spinner. So in that 300 milliseconds, we've actually changed the tab. Like, it'll show this tab up here, but we'll show this content, and that's weird. It's like this disconnect between the tab and the web content. So George is attempting to fix this by making it so that we don't actually show the tab as being selected until we get the event back. And that's going to probably break some themes for E10S, and that's a thing we are going to have to worry about and do some outreach to any theme developers out there if they want their themes to work with E10S. But that's kind of life. So, let's see here. What's he doing? Let me try and... I've already reviewed this once, but it was a different iteration of this patch. So let me break it down and see if I can understand what's happening. So, first of all, in browser.zool, which is the layout, like the document that we use to render the UI for the browser, we have like an initial tab, and an initial browser. And this is the Zool DOM node for the initial tab, and he's making it so that it is visually selected as well as selected. So that's part of George's solution, this notion of visually selected versus selected. And the reason he's making that distinction is because we have a whole bunch of tests and a whole bunch of browser code that assumes that switching tabs is going to be synchronous. Like, it relies on it in order to function properly. And so we're not going to change that. We're going to take advantage of the fact that in the background, even though whenever we click this, we will not have updated the UI to show it as selected, we'll still have the selected attribute set to true on it. And then visually selected means, okay, now we actually change the UI. So it's kind of a weird distinction, but that's just how it is, I guess. I mean, we need these tabs to be asynchronous. That's just the way it is whenever you have multiple processes and you don't want to block on the content process. So he's added this visually selected equals true. I'm going to say that's a good idea. And we'll move over here to tab browser. So he's having to pair up a whole bunch of stuff with selected and visually selected. Also, he's applying this stuff on top of a previous patch that someone else wrote, Bill M wrote, that I should probably apply to test this stuff on. And where is that patch? Where is Bill M's patch? I have a reference to it in one of my notes. Hold on. Active code reviews. This one. So yeah, I sometimes take notes. If for particularly complicated patches, I will he refactored this, but he didn't request a review. I have a feeling that he wants me to review this, so I'm going to need info him and make sure. Hey, was attachment 8575622 ready for review? Or were you holding off on for something? Okay. I can still apply it even though it hasn't gone through review yet. I think it's pretty close. This is a pretty intense patch. If you're interested, it kind of encapsulates all the tab switching insanity into one place. This is like amazing documentation in here, kind of explaining how the async tab switching works that Bill is adding, and I'm pretty happy about that. So I'm going to apply this patch. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of the stuff that we were just working on, like the get rid of the 2 patches from Ian. Oh, I don't think I actually committed that other one that I applied, did I? Oh, Mercurial, pull yourself together. Okay, well, it's gone. I don't know where it... Oh, right. It's right here. I just gave it a very unhelpful name. So I will strip that off. Strip off. I could have probably done that in a single command, but eh. Okay, so now I'm back to the tip of inbound. And now I will apply Bill M's patch from here. Not Q import, import. And then I will also apply George's patch, the one I'm actually trying to review. Don't need that anymore. So there are actually 2 patches in here that I probably need to apply. This one is down in like the native code for layers and tab parent. Okay, well I will apply both. Hopefully they do not conflict. Great, they both applied. So now I should have them both on the top here. Great. It only applied one of them. I was really expecting it to apply both. But what do you expect? Sometimes life happens. So now I want the first... Oh. Had it applied the other one? What is going on? What? So what even is this patch that's on the top of the tab parent? Okay. How come this... It just straight up didn't apply properly. Why not? Hunk failed inside tab browser. So let's take a look at the 3 out of 3 hunks failed. Okay, let's see if we can find out why. Content tab browser XML reg. So all this stuff that he added did not apply. Added, changed, all of it. Now why not? Because it's already here. Why is it already here? Where? What? Where is this stuff coming from? Oh. Okay. Okay. So I had been reviewing his patch the other day, and I failed to pop it off here. Okay. So I'm going to sanity restored. I'm going to get rid of his old stuff because I'm pretty sure he updated it since then. So I'm going to get rid of this thing. I will drop it. And then I will reapply his new one. So you were expecting code review, and instead what you get is mercurial gymnastics. Sorry about that. BZ. Now I will import the actual patch. The first one. And that should apply cleanly. Fingers crossed. Come on. Yeah. And so I should have both of those on top. Great. And now I need to apply George's patch, which is over here. And that applies cleanly. Great. Now I have to rebuild. Now, a bunch of stuff changed between here and where we last did a proper build. So let's take a look. Our hdiff r262 824. Where are those changes happening? I think most of them are in tab browser and in browser base. So yeah. Both these changes are in browser base. And then there's like a chunk that's in this native code, and I have a feeling it's under DOM IPC. Yeah. Browser themes, he changes themes. So whenever you update themes, I'm not going to be able to fully review this patch because I've only got two, like I've got my OS X machine here and I've got my Linux VM, but I don't have a Windows VM that I can really use on this machine. So I'm going to have to find a Windows machine to test this on. Okay, so yeah, under DOM IPC. You know what? It's probably just safer for me to just do mock build, and it will build all the things I need. And in the meantime, I will inspect this patch before I test it. So we'll do that. And I don't need these junk tabs anymore, so I will close the tabs to the right, and I will review this stuff. So I'll get a notification whenever the build's done, and then we can actually run it through some paces and test it out. See if we get any behavioral problems out of it. So that still looks good and makes sense. We've applied this stuff. So Bill M's patch kind of encapsulates, like I said, the insanity of our async tab switching stuff into a single place. And I really wish I could like show more context. We're eventually going to use a new code review tool here at Mozilla, or we're going to try to, called Moz Review, or based on Review Board, that will allow us to like see more context around changes. A far smarter diff viewer than what we've currently got, and I can't wait. So he's paired up every single case, or what seems to be every single case of underscore selected with visually selected. True, true here, selected, false, false there, false, true, like he's making them always be the same. This is the only case, it seems, where, oh no, it's visually selected is false, visually selected equals true, and then he gets rid of a new line there. So it seems like there's only one case where selected might be false, and is there a case where selected is false and visually selected is true? Let me write that down. This is one of those bugs where in the review I'm going to have to write stuff down. 1066531. Didn't I, yeah. So, is there a case where, this is something I want to check later, selected equals false and visually selected gets set to true? So, we will look for that. What else? I have a feeling this review is going to take me a little while. This is some complicated stuff. We're inheriting all this business. He's basically pairing up anytime we use selected with visually selected as well. All this is happening in the tab browser binding on the tab context menu. Oh, no, sorry, not tab context menu. This is on the tab element, and the tab element has a context menu. Okay. This is probably just so our styling will work properly. And then we in ETNS, we want to only pseudo select a tab before its rendering is done so that the rest of the system knows the tab is selected. But we don't want to update its visual status to select until after we receive confirmation that its content is painted. Okay, so there's this difference between logically selected and visually selected. Logically selected. Is logically selected used anywhere else? Logically selected. Yes, logically selected is used here. This is something he's put into tab box, so that's under toolkit. So all the other Zool apps are going to get this as well. Visually selected and logically selected. So he does have to update toolkit. Okay. Setter selected. So in the, this is good. This is good. So our toolkit apps like Thunderbird that don't have async tab switching will still function the same way. We'll set logically and visually at the same time. So that's good. Okay, that makes sense to me. I think we can not look at tab box now. That makes sense. So let's go back to where we were in tab browser. Selected tab, visually selected is true. You know what? This whole section of stuff is probably the most complicated. I'm going to get back to this later. I'm going to defer the most complicated stuff till the end, but make note of it. So closely examine the logic of setting selected and visually selected. Okay. So now we've got like underscore selected, logically selected. Oh, I remember why. It's because underscore selected is what we're overriding in order to... It's a little complicated, but so we've got logically selected, visually selected, and then underscore selected. And underscore selected is what's being read by like our tests and stuff, I believe. And various other bits of code. And then over here, in the E10S case, we special case visually selected so that it's not set until probably we get the event. So we behave the same way as the toolkit case unless we're a G multiprocess browser, in which case that we only set logically selected. That makes sense to me. So we will look at this stuff later. So I will come back to that. So now he does a bunch of theme updating. Whew. So this is mostly just replacing usage of selected with visually selected. This is kind of a pain in the butt because we have to make sure he hasn't missed anything. And that is not an easy thing to check. So yeah, just replacing all the usages of selected with visually selected. Visually selected. So this isn't actually going to break old style themes. It's just going to make it so that in old style themes, if they're like when I say old style, I mean complete themes. It means that they'll have the same problem where that we're trying to fix with like the switching of tabs being synchronous, even though the content hasn't flipped around. And I think that's actually okay. And if the theme wants to like fix that, they should use visually selected instead. So that's not bad actually. That's a pretty good solution, or it's less evil than it could have been. Don't want to piss off our theme people. Visually selected. So this all looks fine. He's just replacing, like I said, selected with visually selected everywhere we go. This is the sort of patch that's like this type of change, a sort of a mass rename or a mass change. It's easy for little things to slip by because my eyes kind of glaze over. And so you kind of have to be really extra vigilant if you can be, because this is how defects can slip through. It's almost like they say, statistically I've heard that like you're more likely to have a car accident within 2 kilometers of being at your destination because your guard goes down or something like that. Don't quote me on those numbers. I might be making some of that up. But I think the idea is your guard can go down if you think you're safe. And if I think that I'm safe, I might miss a defect here. But this all looks right. I'm really just sort of comparing and making sure that the logic of the CSS is not changing except for the attribute, the selected attribute. And then I'm going to have to do a pass and make sure, okay, this is going to be a pain in the butt. I'm going to have to do a pass and make sure he hasn't missed anything. Which is going to blow. Okay. Okay. Should have selected. And down here, let me just see what the... So Matt Nuremberg, who I believe is watching, I hope I pronounced his last name right. That might be the first time I've ever said it out loud. Has just suggested that it might be easier for me to review this patch if I push it to Moz Review myself, which might not be a bad idea, because one of the things that Moz Review will do for me is it will um, allow me to see the individual changes. Actually, that's a great idea. I like that idea, Matt. I like it. So what I'm going to do, push review, and I'm pretty sure I can say that there's no, I can give it some review ID. So I'm going to override the review ID to point to George's, because I don't, even though I'm basing it on top of, wait, no. Here's what I want to do. I want to do HG push, I think C review, and that will just do the work for the one that's on tip, and I'm pretty sure the patch on tip has the bug. It does not, so I'm going to put the bug number in there, even though I probably could have just supplied it. That may have been easier in the end. So a little more mercurial dancing for you people. I should probably play some like circus music while I do it. So now I'm going to do push C review, and I think that's going to do what I want. It doesn't know what I'm talking about. Okay, push R dot, and then I'm going to say review. I'm going to pass a review ID of this. The only reason I tried C is because I saw someone mention it in IRC the other day. So I'm doing this strictly to aid my reviewing. Come on. Okay, a bunch of stuff gets into the... There we go. Actually, you know what I should have done, now that I think about it, is HG rebase R 262825 tip destination 262820. Just gonna do a quick rebase here because there's some cruft in there that I don't want to include in this thing that I'm pushing. I really just wanted to look at the last one. I don't know why. All right, done. So I should really just do like HG push tip. Matt is saying that I had to specify the revision as an argument to dash C. So that was my problem. Okay. So I don't even need to like publish this or anything. I just need to look at the stuff that George changed. So this is nice because I don't know if you can see this, but only like the thing that he changed, this line is yellow because he changed something in here, but this area that he added stuff is what's highlighted. So that I know he didn't change anything surrounding it, which is really, really helpful. so I don't have to look at the whole line. So I really appreciate the suggestion, Matt, and I get the fact that I can like extend and expand the context here, which is really great. Like if I need to see more, so this is also starting to turn into like an ad for Moz Review. Okay, so this is really useful. Yep. We're already there. He's just adding visually. See, this is so much faster. Good. Again, I appreciate the suggestion, Matt. That was great. So this was under, where was I? Dev Edition. And I hope he got it all. Let me extend the whole file. I'll just check the whole thing. Like if I do selected, yeah, I think yep, got that one. Yep, okay, you got them all. So I will shrink that back down. Blah. Okay, and move forward. Which, this is Tabs Inc. This is like the main sort of shared tab styling CSS for across like Windows, Linux, OS X. There's a bunch of shared code, and this is it. So this is pretty important because this is for the default theme. Really need to get this one right. That looks right. I'm trying to think if there are any cases where we still want to use selected, and I can't think of one. He didn't miss any in here, did he? No. Okay. You might want to say that, well, I probably need to publish that in order to make a comment. Here's the problem. I could publish this and make my comments in here. I don't know if George has ever used Moz Review before. He'd probably figured out pretty fast. But I don't want. That looks all fine. Looks fine. Looks fine. Looks fine. Looks fine. Looks fine. Looks fine. I don't see any in here that he missed. Visually selected. It's true. It's interesting that some of the time we're using visually selected equals true without quotes, and sometimes we use it with quotes around the true. I'm certain both are valid, but there's a little inconsistency there. But I'm not going to harp on it. I'm not going to make George fix things that are not related. So this actually looks like he got all of them in here, as far as I can tell. Then there's Zool CSS. Now this I have to be really careful about. Moz user focus normal. I'm trying to remember what that does. Let me just refresh my memory. What does Moz user focus do? Used to indicate whether the element can have focus, and the element can only have focus, it seems, whenever we are visually selected. That makes sense. So I think we're okay there. There's nothing else he missed in here with selected, right? Nope. Alright, away you go. Where was I? So I'm getting too fancy. I'm doing this like expand collapse stuff and I'm losing my spot. So I should probably relax a little bit on that. Where was I? I was looking at Zula CSS. Okay. So now he's in the tab box binding. This is the toolkit XBL binding that defines like all of the shared tab stuff. And he had to set visually selected here. so that the styling will work. This is the stuff we'd already looked at before. What's all this? Make sure that this still makes sense. Yes, yes it does. This is all for like, does this make sense? Before selected. Attribute before selected. I wonder if this stuff is supposed to be more for logical selection than visual selection. Like, what is before selected used for? I wonder if we have a documentation about that. Yeah. This is set to true if the tab is immediately before the currently selected tab. This is set automatically when needed, and you shouldn't adjust it manually. This is probably useful for themes so that they can adjust the appearance of the area around the selected tab. Okay, so it's probably alright that it be just now I was thinking, should this be before visually selected? But that's just going to break more stuff in themes. I also wonder if maybe instead of having the themes change, we make it so that the rest of the browser logic uses like logically selected. But you got to pick one, and I think we picked the theme one, and that is probably the best choice. Okay, so that's fine. This makes sense. There's no getter for underscore selected, so I just assume that it's going to if we try and get underscore selected. I'm trying to remember what we do in that case if we only have a setter. Well, let's find out. Our build should be done, so we can actually run this thing and take a look at what is up. So, first thing is that I'm seeing, I don't know if you can see this. Take a look. So we've reached. I didn't finish the inspection. I'm now into like the testing, but take a look at this up here where I'm sort of circling my mouse. I'm not sure if you're gonna see it, but there's like a glitch there where the top is not being that like the stroke is not being applied properly. So that's a problem. So that's a problem. Now what is that the same case for? Like a new tab is not remote. This is a remote tab. Is it also? Yeah. Like look at that. That's a problem. Oh, it glitches out pretty hard. Notice the font color changes as well. Like I'm seeing a flash in that small window of time. So I should be writing this stuff down. Glitch. So issues. Glitch in font, tab, font, title, font, and top stroke when switching during wait for paint message from content. Maybe if I wonder if I can capture what that looks like. How would I do that? I could hang the content process. I will do that. I will hang the content process by attaching my debugger to it. So let's see. Shoot, I've got two nightlies running and I don't know which one is the one I'm testing. Did we mention the process number here? No, I'm gonna have to make a guess. Which one is it? Which one is it? Oh, you know what I could do is I could like pause one. Or you know what? I'm not using Flash, or I might be using Flash here. Shoot, I don't know how to detect it. I'm gonna have to flip a coin and assume that this one that's under less load is the one that I'm just gonna flip a coin. All right, I'm gonna attach to that process. Here we go. 10398. Was I right? If I'm right, then whenever I pause this, tab switching will probably. I was not right. I was not right. So let's choose the other one. What was it? 39277. Okay, 39277. And I can probably detach from this one safely. Okay, so now if I hang this, oh, see that's fine. When is the glitch showing up? When does the glitch show up? I don't know how I'm just gonna have to ask him to like flip back and forth quickly um, between two tabs quickly to see what I mean. Okay, well, are there any other issues? I was looking into something. I was looking into what happens whenever we try and set or get something that doesn't have a getter, it just has a setter. Is it just undefined? I forget. It's been a while since I've been up in XBL land, so let's find out. Um, Gbrowser selected tab. That's the tab. And then if I try and get logically selected, I think I just get undefined. That's what I got there. Logically selected. And is the same true for underscore selected? Probably. Yeah. But here, uh, let tab equals gbrowser dot logically no selected tab. I'll set the tab to be that. I will change the tab, and now I will do tab dot logically selected equals true. See, logically selected seems to affect the font size or the font weight or color or something. Okay, so I should write that down. The selected attribute still seems to affect the font weight of the tab title, at least on OS X. So because there could be a whole host of other issues in the other platforms as well. And then what about, so logically selected true, and I'll set back to false. And then what about tab dot selected equals false? That's just because, I mean, I'm basically just doing logically selected again. But what about visually selected equals true? So, okay, so now I've recreated the problem. So that occurs whenever it's visually selected. So that actually answers this question here. Is there a case when selected equals false and visually selected gets set to true? There must be a case, because that's what's causing this glitch. So this appears to happen when selected equals false, or logically selected is false, and visually selected is true. So that's a thing. Glad I figured that out. Actually, I can actually show him what that looks like now. I think I can. Except that, yeah, there we go. I'm going to take a screenshot. And I will paste it in here. that was just a link to, oh boy. I'm opening up a non-ETNS window because can't copy images from shift right click allows me to get past the capture, copy image. Yeah, an ETNS window currently we can't copy images. We can only copy like text content. So that's why I'm what? All right. Well, anyways, I've got a screenshot of it. I can supply a screen. I can reproduce it pretty easily. I'll get a screenshot uploaded. Have screenshot. Let's go back to the patch. So already this is starting to look like it's going to be an R minus because of these problems. But I mean a bunch of it works. Like, let's see, false. So like that works well. It'd be nice. Or what was it I wanted to do? I wanted to like hang the content process so that we're waiting on the paint, and then in that small window of time, like whenever we're waiting for a response, we do hold. We do like not actually select the tab until until either the timeout or the spin, like, or we actually got the message. So it's doing the job. It's like it's delivering. George's patch works. It's just that there are some rough edges still. So again, he's just changing visually, 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 visually. This is for Linux. I'm going to go through. So after all this is done, I should write a to-do. Go through and make sure there aren't any selected, visually selected changes that missed. Not mixed, missed. We're starting to get close to 2:30. And that's about when I'm planning on capping it. Okay. Visually selected. Ah, that's a problem. That's a problem right there. Visually elected. Visually elected. Okay, so that's a problem. I'm putting my notes here in this Etherpad. You know what? I should just publish and then show George this stuff. So let me publish this review request. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I was thinking about that, like, do I really want to do this? And yes, I do really want to do this. So now I haven't R question marked myself. I didn't set myself as a reviewer, but I can now like make comments. Visually elected. And open issues. And whenever I publish this, this is going to mirror a whole bunch of comments to Bugzilla. And if George has any questions about Moz Review, he can point them out to me. Or he can ask me, and I can get more people using it. Visually elected. I wonder if that's something that you did more than once. No. Okay, so we're all right there. Be vigilant. This is exactly the sort of thing that could have slipped by if I just was like, yeah, it was a mass change of visually selected to, or selected to visually selected, and that could have totally slipped by if I'd just done inspection. I probably would have noticed whenever I was manually testing. So, but yeah, that's exactly the sort of thing that I could have missed. I was likely to have missed. It's actually thanks to review board, because I don't know if you see this, but again, it's highlighted the S as saying that this is something that was removed, and that caught my eye. And that's something that Splinter and Bugzilla does not do, is sub highlight within a diff. So this review board is saving my butt here, and that's good. So just a shout out to review board. Good stuff. So this looks, the rest of it looks okay. It's just now a matter of, so let's go back to the top. I need to closely examine the logic of settings selected and visually selected and go through and make sure there aren't any selected to visually selected changes that GW280 missed. I can actually upload the screenshot to Moz Review, actually. I could do that. I could show him screenshots. Glitch. So, Moz Review is not without its bugs. There are still problems. And apparently adding files is one of them. I can't just do that. Although apparently I do have a draft of something. Oh, so it did add it. Okay, so if I publish this, it's going to be associated. Oh, I don't really want to get into this. Discard. I'll find some other way of showing him. I'll find some other way. So this is the stuff I really kind of more wanted to get into, was like the logic of the switching of the what am I doing? Switcher. Switch. Is that what it was called? I basically just want to scroll down and find the change that he added. But I expanded it out because I wanted to see all the context of the stuff above it. I probably should have just gone up by, instead of like every bit of code, I should have asked for just like a chunk. The problem is that Moz Review does not understand XBL at all. Normally it would have been able to like figure out, oh, I will expand to the top of the function. But it doesn't understand XBL and what a function looks like. That's something we could maybe teach it. So this is happening. This is happening when we remove a tab. So after a tab is removed, if you remove a tab, there's this like sweet little transition that occurs, and then we actually remove the DOM node. And end remove tab is what fires whenever the animation is done. I'm pretty sure that's what goes on. It's been a while since I've been in the tabs. And he's made it so that when we update the tab positional properties and attributes, selected tab, remove tab. I guess remove tab, by the time we've removed the tab, we've changed the selected tab, and so now we are updating so that we've selected a new tab having removed the old tab. Like if I were looking at this one, so I don't know if you saw that, but whenever I close this tab, we don't choose this one right away. We wait until the transition is done, and then we choose that. Maybe that was a little fast. I don't know if the frame rate's good enough, but that's what's going on. So after the transition is done, then we choose, like, that we must figure out what the selected tab is supposed to be. That must occur somewhere up here, I guess, or maybe outside this function. It doesn't really matter, but then we have to set it to visually selected as true, and that I don't know about. I don't know if we want to do that, because what if the tab that we're switching to isn't ready? What if, like, when we closed a tab, we have to wait for it to get ready to paint to switch to the other one? So shouldn't we be waiting here? I think so. When we close a tab and switch to another one, I should be more specific. When we close the selected tab and switch to another one and remove tab, that's yeah, and remove tab. I had to escape the underline, otherwise it was using, you know what? I should disable markdown, that's why. And remove tab gets fired when the transition ends. We're switching to some other tab. I think it's usually the last selected tab. Don't we need to wait for that tab to be ready to paint? Shouldn't we not set visually selected to true until the content for that tab is ready? Boom. So that I think is a real problem. So I think I can close that up now. And so I've learned my lesson. I'm going to pump up by 20. That's much better. Move tab 2. Just so happens that this is the method header right here, so that's good. Move tab 2. So we're going to be moving some tab to some index is how this one will work. And then we set selection to false when we move it. I don't know why. Move tab 2. Why would we do that? We must do it for a reason. I don't know what the reason is right now. The current tab is like we don't show it being selected anymore. And then we move the DOM node. And then we make it so that all of the tabs are not selected. And then we... What? Why do we do this? This isn't George's fault. This is just weird. We re-index the tabs and make sure that they're not selected, I guess, when we move a tab. This is kind of wacky. Now, because the current tab, like moving a tab, doesn't, like if I do this, we don't actually change the content. Like I just move this around and the content doesn't need to change. So I think we're okay to set visually selected as true right away here. That's not a problem. This is just weirdness. I don't know why that is. Okay, so now we're in the guts of the stuff that Bill M wrote in that previous patch. This is intense, and there's a bunch of documentation. I might as well just expand all of this. Here's the documentation. I've read it. If you're interested in reading it, go read it. It's inside that bug that I was referring to. What is it? I don't know. Some bug. I don't remember what it was. But rewind the video. I referred to it. That's key. That's key here. Looking at the time, it's almost 2:30. I'm probably gonna cap this in a second. Let's just finish examining the logic of this stuff. Basically, I'm going to finish this checkbox thing. I'm not going to. This is going to be boring. This part. I'm not going to show you that. I will cap the stream before that happens. But we did a fair bit. We didn't nearly review as many things as I thought we might review. This one kind of ended up being more involved than I thought it'd be. But we caught some defects, so that's good. It's always good. That stuff didn't ship. So let's see, when is he updating this stuff? This happens inside this method, which is update display. This function is called after all the main state changes to make sure all of the main state changes to make sure we display the right tab. And it chooses whether or not to show a spinner. And George is making it so if the last visible tab is not equal to this visible tab, then we make it so that the last visible tabs visually selected is false and visually selected is true. I wonder if this is what's causing this glitch. I think this is causing a glitch. I think this is putting us in a state. This is potentially, this can potentially put a tab in a state where it's selected, it is not logically selected. I'm going to turn off Markdown again. But is visually selected. That's glitching us out pretty hard. When you switch back and forth between tabs, I can see this for a split second. The tab title color is wrong, and the top of the tab appears to be missing. You can easily reproduce the visual glitch by setting visually selected to true on a tab that is not logically selected. Boom. Issue opened. Okay, so I think I'm going to cap it there. I still have quite a bit to do to review this patch. I'll probably do that this afternoon. I think that's what I just did. I've written about that. I still need to write about this, but I will do that after this stream. So let me go back to the agenda, see what we did. So here we are. We got this far. we got about 3 out of 9. We got a third of the way in. Not bad. I kind of got a freebie here whenever I reviewed two things basically at the same time, and then we got bogged down pretty hard in this one. So I'm going to be reviewing probably for like the rest of these patches, a good chunk of these today, and then I'll probably end up working on this bug. You might see me working on this next week, but let me know. I'm capping it here. Let me know how this went. Like, are you interested in seeing me review these patches? Is this more interesting than, say, the actual hacking on patches? Is it like, do you want to see more of a mix? Because I mean, I've always got review queue. I've always got reviews ready to ready to do. So I can do more reviewing, or I can do more hacking, or I can do a mixture of both. Really, I am open for feedback. Let me know in the comments below this video. If you're on Air Mozilla, you can comment. You can also contact me on Twitter here. For some reason, I put in my GitHub account. You I guess, could send me a pull request letting me know what you'd like me to do. And I also have a link to my blog. I guess this is just self-promotion area down here. I don't know why I put that stuff in. Okay, so I think I'm going to call it there. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was interesting. I hope it kind of illuminated what goes on whenever a reviewer reviews patches, or at least what I do when I review patches. I bet other reviewers do other things. I bet there are some other techniques out there that I'm not using that would be really useful and that I should use. So let me know. Let me know if you saw bugs fly by, defects in these patches fly by that I should have caught, and how show me, teach me. And I think that's all I wanted to say. Yeah, I'm calling it right here. So thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next week, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and enjoy your day. Thanks a lot. Bye.